One time for the big fellas. Sunday, the conclusion of on-field combine proceedings as the road graders put some times on tape. LSU product Will Campbell is expected to hear his name called in the first half of the first round come April. And Sunday did himself some favors. While the arm length fell short of your prototypical tackle, the Dancing Bear showed off those feet. 6'6", 320, Campbell, the only offensive lineman to go sub 5 seconds in the 40-yard dash. Taking a look at your latest mock draft according to our draft expert, Ryan Wilson, who was boots on the ground in Indy throughout the week, getting some eyes on these products. Again, quarterbacks did not show off those arms, which has become sort of the going rate here in the NFL. Your top 2, your top 3, we'll see you at the Pro Day. Such is the case for the top overall pick projected in Cam Ward. All right, let's put a bow on the week that was. CBS NFL analysts and draft experts Emory Hunt and Ryan Wilson, respectively. A pair that's done outstanding work all week on the ground in Indy. So, fella, for that, we thank you. But opinions are like draft picks. Everyone's got them, and you just hope they're right. I'm here for a few of yours, Ryan Wilson, who did themselves the biggest favor this week.
Yeah, Joe, that mock draft we showed coming in, that was post-Senior Bowl. I got a new one coming out tomorrow. Things are going to change. Be interested to see what happened to your Bears there when they pick, so you'll have to check that out. In terms of who helped themselves the most, Jahdae Barron, defensive back out of Texas. He can play in the slot. He can play outside. His tape is, as our buddy B-Mac likes to say, red-hot tape. And that translated not only through the course of the season, but obviously once they got to the playoffs. And then here we go, once he got to Indianapolis, running a Joe Musso-like unofficial 4.4, turned into a 4.39 officially. And Leger Douzable and I talked to him last week at the Senior Bowl, at the Combine, and I don't know if there was a more dynamic, energetic, make me want to run through a wall interview that we had all week. This guy is incredibly smart. He knows what everyone on that defensive side of the ball is doing, and I guarantee you he interviews through the roost with teams to the point where I had him late first round prior to last week. He's top 15 all day long, and if he's not, someone's going to make a huge mistake.
Just to be clear, I only fudged height and weight, never fudged a 40 time. Emory Hunt, your biggest winner out of the week is who?
I would say the entire running back room, man. We talked about the running backs coming into this combine and how this is a deep draft of running backs. I liken it back to 2017's class that had Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, all those guys, Aaron Jones. And this class is not only deep, but they're also explosive. You take a look at some of these 40 times, man. These guys were flying. Jaden Blue, fastest time out, one of the fastest time out there. But Bashal Tootin, who transferred in from North Carolina A&T with the blistering 4.32 in the 40-yard dash. We didn't know what Montrell Johnson's 40 was because all he did was just score touchdowns from 3 to 4 yards out. And he ran 4.4 as well as Donovan Edwards. So all of these guys that we kind of had speed questions about went out there and blazed the 40. R.G. Harvey out of UCF, another 4.4 guy. So not only do these guys have the talent, but they have the speed and explosiveness. So I expect a lot of these backs to come off the board on day 2.
Positive and negative. I always try and take the numbers with a grain of salt and let the tape do the talking, fellas, because this is different than what these guys are used to, putting on a helmet alongside your teammates and going out for a shared goal. This is more gymnastics. This is more wrestling meat, man in the arena with all the focus and trying to put a number on tape. That in mind, who maybe hurt their stock, Ryan, coming out of this week?
You talk about it, Joe. It's all about, at the end of the day, what's on the tape. And Nick Nash, the wide receiver out of San Jose State, has a lot of good tape in terms of the productivity. And Emory and I saw him live and in person at the Shrine Bowl. He's big. He's not particularly fast, and that bore itself out in terms of the 40 time. He ran in the 4.5s. Now, look, this is him jogging. This isn't him at top speed. That wasn't his fault. But again, the production was there at the college level, but he wasn't consistently creating separation, and he wasn't stacking defensive backs consistently, and that's what we saw at the Shrine Bowl during those practices. And then in terms of the shorts and T-shirts portion of the pre-draft process here in Indianapolis, that also sort of bore itself out. Not the end of the world, certainly not, because he's just not going to be a day 1 or day 2 guy. He'll have to earn his way into the roster in day 3. Had he come out here and run a 4.4, then we're having a different conversation. Is that fair? Sometimes not. But the reality is once you hit the 4.5s as a wide receiver, some tough conversations are going to be had.
You know, I'm going to say the tight end group, because if the running backs ran the fastest, the tight end group ran the slowest. And it was fascinating because coming into the combine, all we heard was this is a deep tight end class. And it still is a very deep tight end class, especially those top talents at the top. But Gunnar Helm, I'm glad he came out with the photos that he sprained his ankle before running the 40-yard dash and still ran a 4.8. But outside of that, Bryce Nesbitt, someone that is athletic on tape, that moves fast on tape, went out there and ran a 4.88. So when you look at the times, we were expecting to see these guys go out there and run 4.5, run 4.4. There's always one tight end that tends to touch 4.4. We got guys that were barely touching 4.65. So when you look at this group as a whole, hopefully we'll see faster times at their individual pro days. But man, this was a slow class of tight ends, although this is an athletic group of tight ends that we've seen all season long.
Professor Kittle going to be holding office hours at tight end U with those types of numbers. We'll see how many of those names do get called in the first round. I want to talk about the first pick because this year is so interesting with the supply-demand economy at the quarterback position and what the supply is or what it isn't this year in the NFL draft. Ryan, how did you feel about the first overall pick, coming into this week, and how do you feel about it here on the tail end of the combine?
Let me just say this, Joe. I'm incredibly shocked that Emory's favorite group was the running backs. I'll leave it at that. Let's see if he puts a running back at the top of the #1 overall pick. That could be next in the conversation here. I mean, you can set your watch to that. In terms of the first overall pick coming into last week, it was Cam Ward. Coming out, I think he has distanced himself from the other quarterback in Shedeur Sanders based on the folks I spoke with in terms of how Shedeur interviewed compared to Cam. Not the end of the world again, but I don't think it's going to be a 1-2 situation. I think Mason Graham's been in the conversation as a possible first overall pick. He didn't measure up the way that you want a Myles Garrett to measure up, for example. He'll have shortish arms. He's a little undersized. Abdul Carter has the stress reaction in his foot that surprised everyone, including Abdul Carter. And Travis Hunter, we know who he is, but is he a guy that the Tennessee Titans might target at #1 overall? I don't think so. So I think Cam Ward remains that guy. We talked to all those players that you saw there, and Cam Ward has an edge to him, and he's very interested in proving any doubters that remain wrong. So I think he still remains the front runner, as we see there with the odds, to be the first quarterback taken almost certainly with the Tennessee Titans.
So more clarity for our draft expert in Ryan Wilson. Did you feel that same clarity coming out of this week, Emory?
It's I would say a battle of attrition, guys, because you'll hear something different the longer you stay out on the streets of Indy, because we know what happens the longer you stay out. Things get a little bit more honest the longer you stay out there on the streets of Indy. But with that being the backdrop, I still feel like Tennessee will take a quarterback. I don't care which one, because we all as a country watched them last year play football and watched those 6 bonehead plays that probably cost them 3 victories in a very competitive AFC South. So they can, throw out feelers of a defensive player or trading out of #1. They better go and grab whomever at that #1 spot that plays the quarterback position, because they will not win games consistently in the AFC South without one.
Time to take another crack at the QB position, says Emory Hunt. Gentlemen, great work all week long, and we appreciate you, but get some rest and get back to it. The calls are coming soon. And for more of your draft needs, Ryan Wilson, he's got you covered on With the First Pick. It is the premier pod in all of this talent analysis that had become a sport in and of itself. Download, subscribe, and enjoy With the First Pick.